Yes, ma'am.
Namaste. Good morning. Welcome to WishwaTalks. My name is Srivani. Thank you all for attending today's event. For those of you who have attended a WishwaTalk before, a very warm welcome to you. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, here's a little bit about us. WishwaTalks is a space to expand the horizons of our mind. Every webinar, we call experts to discuss about different domains, to discuss and examine opinions, issues, problems, and perspectives. Each webinar is an interactive session where we all walk away with more respect for each other and a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. Today, we do have a lot of social channels, YouTubes, media. But here is an opportunity for you all to get an unbiased view on any topic that we bring about. And if you miss a session, please visit our website or YouTube channel for a full library of past WishwaTalks on interesting topics. It's a great honor for me to introduce our distinguished keynote speaker for today's WishwaTalks webinar, Mr. Sudhir VS, a luminary in the field of finance and taxation. Stands as a shining example for expertise and dedication with a formidable educational background that includes BCom, LLB, FCA. He has made a significant contribution in the world of finance, currently serving as the lead partner at H&A and Company LLP, which operates across 14 locations. He spearheads consultancy, audit, litigation services, and indirect taxes. His journey to success began with qualifications as a chartered accountant in 2006, and he further honed his skills through entrepreneurship development program at IIM Ahmedabad and an LLB in Osmania University. Mr. Sudhir VS has not only excelled in his professional career, but has also shared his knowledge extensively. He's a master trainer for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, a faculty member at the National Academy of Customs, Excise and Narcotics, and a visiting faculty at esteemed institutions like Watson Business School and BITS Pilani. Furthermore, his expertise in goods and service tax is reflected in his joint authorship of 3 books and his contribution to professional institutes. His engagement with various trade forums, study groups, and committees underscores his commitment to advance the field. Today, we have the privilege of gaining insights from a visionary leader, and I invite all of you to join me in welcoming Mr. Sudhir VS to share his profound knowledge with us.
Thank you.
Before we get started, I'd like to inform our audience that our speaker will be taking questions from you after our main talk. So please leave your questions in the chat or raise a hand, and we will allow you to ask your question in person. I request everyone to turn on your webcam for interaction. Now, without further ado, I invite our speaker to begin today's WishwaTalks. Yes.
Trishant, I think somebody has to share the PPT. I am not again able to find the file here.
It's already on the screen.
Fine. Yeah. Thank you. Good morning, all. First of all, it's my privilege to be part of Vishwa's talk and giving my insights about this technical topic of GST. So when the organizers of Vishwa Talk approached me for a talk, I was a bit confused as to how I need to deliberate my deliberations today in terms of the GST, because I'm not speaking to the departmental officer whom I train. I'm not speaking to the professionals whom I train, or I'm not speaking to students whom I train, or nor the businessmen whom I do a consult. So it's a mix of everything. And I just wanted to keep this GST in more of understanding the concepts and the framework in which the GST has been formed, so that we are all aware of what this GST is all about, why it has been talked high ratedly given and talked about high. So let's understand those intricacies, some good things which has happened because of the GST, some challenges what we are facing, and what is the way forward which the GST is going ahead. I have deliberately not touching any of the technical point as far as the GST, which is applicable for GST, which is not applicable, what rate, what goods or services comes. So I have not done anything on a technical deliberation. But in case any of you have any specific query on any of the technical aspects also, you are free to ask me at the end of my talk during the question answer session. You can also please use the chat box. It's a wonderful opportunity the technology is giving us. Sometimes I've seen people get some questions, thoughts. They don't want to disturb the speaker. Later, they will forget their question when the question answer starts. So that way, this technology, you can use the chat box, put your your question on the chat box, and we will take it when the question, when I do the answering of the question answers, right? So with this, I'll just take you through the session today. Can I have this next slide, please? So I'll give you a small overview of the basic framework of the GST, some thought process of why it came and why it is something which is very unique and different. I'll also take you through some challenges way forward, then we'll going for the question answer. So can I have the next slide? So just giving you an overview, what is a GST? GST, as most of you in this session would be aware, it is a goods and service tax. It is an indirect tax. For the people who actually doesn't know the technicalities between the direct and indirect tax, I would just want to take a moment and explain. So as most of you are aware that for the functioning of the government, for the development of the infrastructure in the country, government requires money. So the money has been collected in form of tax from all the citizens of India. So they opt to collect in two ways. One is a direct tax. A simple example is your income tax, what you pay, where you earn an income and you pay a certain amount of income to the government for the benefit of the country, infrastructure development for the country. Second is an indirect tax. So indirect tax, what happens is that in the indirect tax, you would be collecting the tax from the consumer, not directly, but through the seller or a shopkeeper or a vendor. Say, for example, I go and buy medicines in the medical store, and when I buy the medical medicines, I have been charged GST. I shell out GST from my pocket, but that is not been directly paid by me to the government. It is been paid by me to the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper in turn pays to the government. So because the government is indirectly collecting the tax from me, it becomes a indirect tax. So that's the basic concept of GST. Widely, the collection of GST and the impact of GST is high. If you are aware that we have kept agriculture out of the tax net, so there is no income tax on agriculture. That means the farmer, can we say that the farmer is not paying any tax at all in India? Answer is absolutely no. The farmer also consumes a lot of things, right? He buys a motor vehicle, he buys a TV, or he goes to a restaurant, or he buys a lot of groceries and various other items. All these items he is paying a tax as a recipient. So the concept of they being totally kept outside and immune for taxes is only from a compliance point of view, that they need not take a registration, they need not pay tax, but as a recipient, they also pay the tax equally as what we are paying as a citizens in India. So that is the way the indirectly the tax has been collected, and thereby you look at the GST collections is going high because of the consumption being there. And GST is a unified tax for both supply of goods and services. Prior to introduction of GST, we had a separate what you call the taxes for goods, separate for services. For service tax, services we were paying service tax, and for goods we were paying central excise and VAT. So this GST is a common tax between goods and services. Of course, immovable property has been kept outside the tax net. So that is something which was being able to achieve as far as the GST is concerned. Another important aspect which we need to understand is that this is a two-tier structure. That means GST is being levied parallelly by the central government and the state government on the same event, that is supply of goods or services. So here it is very important for us to understand that how prior to GST, the taxation was shared between the state and center. Prior to GST, there was a different taxable events, and these taxable events were shared between the center and state. Say, for example, one taxable event was manufacture, and there was a levy called as central excise for manufacture of goods. So this was been given to the center to administer and collect the tax. Sale of goods was given to the states for collection and make the payment of tax. Sale of goods interstate was given to the center. So various aspects were identified and the tax was being given. So it's a very interesting for us to understand that what does this aspect mean, right? It's slightly technical, but I'll make it very simple because you need to understand this, how things were been there and how it has been progressed now. There was a case of chartered accountants, All India Federation of Tax Practitioners Association. They challenged the levy of service tax imposed on chartered accountants, stating what? We are already paying professional tax. Now you are asking us to pay service tax. This amounts to duplication of tax. The matter went to the courts, Supreme Court. Supreme Court told, I am not sure why you are getting confused. Let me explain how the taxation work. You being a professional, you are paying professional tax. You rendering the service in professional capacity, you are paying service tax. After giving a service, you have earned an income, you are paying income tax. That income you have invested in a property, you are paying property tax. The property is a wealth, you are paying wealth tax. All are different, don't confuse yourself. But if you look at the source is only one, client gives me one money, isn't it? But it is all a different aspects which is been separately identified. So what was done in the previous law was that each aspects were shared among the state and center, various things that you being a professional was shared with the state, and you providing the service was shared with the center. So there was a lot of confusion and overlapping which was been happening. Now what they did when the GST came, the framework was, they told, let's forget about various aspects. We will only concentrate on one aspect, that is supply of goods or services in any form. And both let the center and the state tax the same thing on the same aspect. Each one of you will take your respective share. So that is a different thought process which has been coming as far as the GST prior to, if you look at the law prior to that. Now what happens because of this? Because of this, the multiple compliances, multiple confusions, businessman doesn't understand, okay, he has to pay professional tax, he also has to pay service tax, various things got eliminated. And overall, there will be only two tax. One is the GST for indirect tax and an income tax for your direct tax. And rest everything eventually get merged into these two. That's a broader objective, so that the taxation becomes simplified in India and it is the business. That's the broader perspective of a GST which has been introduced. Another thing of a GST is a destination-based tax. This was a game changer as far as the business is concerned. Prior to introduction of GST, if I make a sale sitting in Hyderabad to a customer who is there in Bangalore, I was charging a levy called as CST, Central Sales Tax. CST was being charged. 4% was being charged. Now this 4% was paid by my customer in Bangalore, but he was not given an offset of this tax, set off of this tax. And this amount was remitted to government of Telangana, not the government of Karnataka. Now GST came and they changed this thought process, saying that if there is a sale happening from one state to another state, in the example which I gave, the GST levied has to be going to the credit of the Karnataka government, not the Telangana government. Now, this is a very, very big, incredible change which has come in. Initially, states were totally objecting this, especially the states like Tamil Nadu. Jayalalitha, when she was there, she was very, very against this entire concept. What was their problem? Their problem is that, oh, you are Hyundai or you are a Mercedes Benz, okay? You come to my state, I will give you land at a throwaway price. I will give you subsidized electricity. I will give you all the licenses, permissions. You manufacture a car is worth 1 crore. The duty on tax is 32 lakhs. Sell it to a person who is there in Karnataka and pay the tax to the Karnataka government. Now, what I am going to get? Right? So do you think it is an injustice? There is a logic in these people. So that is what generally is being looked at and concluded. But if you look at the GST framework, they have gone beyond this. What they have looked at, let us understand, the person who has paid 32 lakhs is residing where? He is residing in Karnataka. Now, when a 32 lakhs has been paid, whether the 32 lakhs should be used for laying roads in Karnataka where he'll drive his car, or in Telangana where he will never come and drive his car, where the infrastructure should be done. Obviously, if I am paying in my state, it should be spent for my welfare where I stay. So thereby, the person who paid was in Karnataka, the tax was given to Karnataka government to spend for the welfare in the Karnataka state. So this is the change as far as the GST is concerned compared to the previous law. And now, because the Karnataka government is getting this tax, they also allowed set off of purchases made from different state, because earlier they were not giving a set off because this money was never with me. Money was with the selling state, not the buying state. Now the buying state has the money, they are giving a set off. So thereby what happened after GST, the interstate trade has tremendously increased. Earlier, when I was selling, even if I am giving a good price or a good quality, it was becoming 4% costlier or 12% costlier for the person who is buying in the other state because he was not getting a set off. And thereby the trade was never happening. More local within the state trades were happening and not across the state. Even if it was happening, it was adding cost to the end consumer. Now that has been removed because of the GST framework. Now there is 5 rates of tax. Most of you would be aware of this 5 rate of tax. Can I go to the next slide, please? We also understand why the GST was been required. GST was not required from a political point of view. It was required more from a global pressure. India signed off World Trade Organization. The World Trade Organization told that look at taxes in your country. If I coming and manufacturing a bicycle, if I manufacture a bicycle in Kerala, I'll pay a different rate. If I manufacture a bicycle in UP, I am going to pay different state with different tax. So how is that I want to structure my business and various tax laws? Which businessman from outside the country would be coming and doing an business in your country? Because you don't have a unified tax. It is different. Very difficult for you to understand. So if you want to be global competent, get a tax which is uniform throughout the country. There should not be a difference. If I'm putting up a manufacturing unit either in Kanyakumari or in Kashmir, it should be the same. So that is what is achieved, and that is what was the major reason why the GST was required. Of course, again, to remove the tax arbitrage, some cases what was happening is there was a live example of mobile phones. Mobile phones in few states, the rate of tax was 4%. In few states, they were taxing at 12.5%. So obviously people were going to other state, buying that mobile phone there. I'm coming back because there is going to be a rate arbitration which was being there. And thereby a lot of business was being lost by the state where 12.5% was being levied. So this arbitration has been removed, and they are able to achieve the commonality. This is another thing which has been required. Okay. So next slide, please. What is great in introduction of GST? I feel this is the one of the best achievement, great achievement which has happened. Even the UPA government tried it in the past. They were not able to get it through, but BJP were able to get it through. And this is not something which has happened is easy. It's a big milestone by itself. It's an achievement by itself. Why? Because for introduction of GST, there was a requirement of amendment of the Constitution of India with a 2/3 of majority. They were able to successfully do that. Next came is a second challenge. The GST law was not only required to be passed in the parliament, it was supposed to be passed in all the state assemblies and the union territories. All states were supposed to be passed in the same form without any amendment, without any change. And this was being done. Everybody came into a common understanding. Nobody disputed. Whatever is there was ironed out, and they passed the law as is common all over the country. Decision making. What rate has to be happening? When the tax has to be levied? What rate it has to be levied? What to be collected? What to be exempted? This was a state prerogative earlier when it come to VAT. They could have decided what they want for their state. But now it is a collective efforts. All the state finance minister and the union minister has to sit and discuss this particular matter. I think today or tomorrow the council meet is also scheduled. So they are sitting together and discussing it. So getting this sort of a collective decision making, entire state coming together is a remarkable achievement. With various political scenarios we have in the country, people are coming together. Another thing is the rationalization of rates. There are different rates. They were able to get it into 5 rates. So coming to a common consensus is very, very important. In Andhra Pradesh, the rice was not being taxed. It was exempted. Karnataka was taxing the rice. So whether we need to put it into exemption, put it into tax, what is going to be the profit, what is going to be the gain, getting into a common path was a breakthrough achievement which has been happening. And also sharing the revenue without disputes. Of course, there are some states keep on complaining we have not got the money, but still largely the revenues have been distributed and a mechanism they are able to get out ambiguity to settle it. So this is the great thing about introduction of GST. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is a small graph of the collection which has been taken by the CBIC website. So if you look at we are doing a year-on-year growth of 11% of tax collection, whereas our economy is growing at a rate of 5 or 6%. So here we are looking at a collection of 11%. So what does this indicate? This indicates that a lot of people who were doing an evasion, who are not in the tax net, we are able to convert them and get them into the tax net. So the collections has crossed 1.85 lakh crores is the collection. And the benchmark has been more than 1.5 crores. Consistently from April to September, we are crossing more than 1.5 lakh crores. So if you look at the comparison, it's every year, every month compared to last year, we are overachieving it. Next slide, please. So what is the benefit which has happened? As I told, the trade has opened up across the country, thanks to GST, thanks to technology. Today the platform, online platforms, we are able to list a small baker, homemaker, a baker at home is able to list his or her product in a e-commerce platform, and they are able to make the sale across the country, not only within the different states of the same country, across the country, because the taxation rates are same, tax arbitration advantage has been removed. So this is something which has given a good benefit for various people. Then movement of goods has become quick. Earlier we had a check post approach. Everybody has to pass through the check post. There is a lengthy queue. So the movement was becoming slow. Here the movement has become very, very quick. Multiple law compliance has been reduced. So earlier I was to file GST return, sorry, VAT returns. I had to pay central excise returns, service tax returns, all different compliance, different assessment. Now everything come under one banner. So this has reduced, and the advantage of the business, people are able to see, they are able to concentrate more on their business and less on this tax compliance. And technology has also helped people. We are moving towards the e-invoicing. So one fine day, there is going to be a e-invoice being generated online for all business to business transaction. If this happens, nothing more compliance is required to be done, because everything gets automated. Your vendors are generated e-invoice, you have generated e-invoice, everything gets auto-populated in your returns, and your compliance becomes very, very easy. You need not spend more time. So that is what is going to happen eventually in 1 or 2 years. Next slide, please. So what are the challenges which has been there as far as the GST? We have all looked at the good things. The challenge which has been there is the way the GST has been administered. Unfortunately, GST administration is more of a collection-driven approach. I think we are on the wrong screen, Radhika. Yeah. We are the collection of the approach towards the administration is more of the collection biased. There's a lot of targets which has been given to the officers right from the top. So people are going crazy behind the targets and pressurizing the businessman like anything. Earlier, the pressure was only on a liability which I was liable to be paid. Now the pressure is also on a point where we are not clear whether it is liable or not. It is a matter of interpretation, right? I can always call a off filled glass of water as off filled or off empty. Both is possible, right? So now how is that I'm going to look at? It's a matter of interpretation. Courts have to decide and tell this is what it is there, but there is a huge revenue pressure which has been happening, which is actually making a businessman vexed. So there is an immediate correction which has been required, the way they are looking at. Otherwise, the way GST is going is very smooth, except for this harassment. Tons and tons of notices have been given. After the notices, there has been again subjected to audits. So many checks and so many things are being there, which is actually making a businessman restless. Second thing, the challenge is that huge powers have been given in the law. The powers like never before seen in any other tax laws has been given. Power of arrest has been given. Power to freeze your bank accounts has been given. Power to attach or make your registration defunctional has been given. So all these powers has been given. Courts have told time and again that these powers has to be exercised on an exceptional basis, not as a matter of routine. Use these only for those rogues who are creating a revenue dent for the country, not for a genuine businessman. Very well given powers, which is required. I appreciate this as a citizen of India, but this powers has been misused by the officers for collecting the revenue. Harassment for a genuine businessman is happening across the country, both by the state officers and central officers. So this requires an immediate correction. And a lot of places, there is a personal extraction of money is happening by the officers. Unfortunately, they are using this power. They're saying, see, I can arrest you. I will not arrest you. What is there for me in this? All right. So huge parallel economy has been there because of this high powers which has been given. So it has to be moderately been done. It cannot be done as an exercise. Just he can just do it without anything. There has to be some checks and balances. Another harassment which is happening is the e-way bill checking. I told the check post has gone, but e-way bill can be checked anywhere. Earlier, they were checking only in one dedicated place. Now they can check it in anywhere during the journey. And the penalties have been levied. The goods have been retained, even for a minor mistake on the e-way bill. Courts have consistently holding, if there was no intention to evade, don't bother them for minor errors. The person was traveling with a valid invoice. His e-way bill had a discrepancy. If he had an intention to evade, valid invoice wouldn't have been there. Catch those people who doesn't have an invoice. Catch those people who are transporting more quantity than what was mentioned in the invoice. No problem. But a genuine businessman for minor errors have been arrested. The other challenge which you are also looking at it, the department people are untrained. Because this was a combination of the concepts of VAT, combination of concepts of central excise, concepts of service tax, all put together, a framework has been done. Central excise people don't understand the concept of VAT. VAT people don't understand the concept of service tax. So there is a lack of training which has been required across department and also the accountants who are working for us. So this is also creating some errors leading to penalties and things like that. There is also an high rate for few sectors, which is killing the industry. Next. I'll take another 5 minutes and I'll wrap it up. This is again another approach which we have seen various amendments. Heads I win, tails you lose. Both the ways I should be the winner. If you are paying the tax late, I will collect 18% interest. If I am giving my refund late, I'll give you only 6% interest. That too after the expiry of 90 days from your application. First 90 days, I'll not give you interest. For you to take any benefit which you have missed, you have not taken input tax credit by mistake, oversight you have done, you have to take by November of next year. But if you have short paid the tax, I can collect for up to 5 years. Right? Yeah, I've paid an amount. I have already paid the amount, but I did not file the returns. Money is there with you in the government account, but still I have to pay interest. Why is interest has to be paid? Because there is a loss to the government because of me paying late. The loss has to be fulfilled by paying the interest. When money was there with you, should I pay interest? Provision says, yes, you have to pay interest. Courts are holding that you have to pay the interest because that is how the law has been framed. My vendor, I have paid the tax to my vendor. My vendor has not remitted to the government. You give him a registration without proper verification of his credential. He has absconded. He has taken the money, your revenue, he has taken and running away. You come and ask me to pay the tax. That means government is totally secured and insured. Either they'll collect it with my vendor. If he is absconding, he'll collect it with me. If I am absconding, he'll collect it with my customer. Government revenue is safeguarded. That is how the law has been done here. It has been done. It is totally appreciated that if it is a fraud, me and my vendor has colluded, he has absconded, I made him abscond, or I made a dummy vendor, come and ask me, fair enough. But not in a genuine business transaction. It has been asked across India for genuine business transaction. A very recent amendment is actually bothering the way the law is getting developed. 1st of October onwards, there is a change for this online gaming company. Earlier, the GST was supposed to have been paid by all those Dream 11s and all those things. You're looking at newspaper that discontinuing operation, close together notices, right? So what they did is that they had a platform fees. 4 players are there. Each of them bet 400 rupees each. 400 is the pot. They get 40 rupees as doing this coordination. Tax earlier was levied at 40 rupees. Now the tax has to be paid on 400 rupees. So this is something which is big. Now the second thing which is coming is that when the tax has to be paid, the tax has to be paid when the player recharges his wallet 100 rupees. The moment it does 100 rupees, 28 rupees has to be paid to the government, even without he playing. Now he changes his mind. One of his friends says, why are you wasting money here? Don't do gambling, withdraw money. If he withdraws, he will not get 28%. Gone. So this is the law which is introduced from 1st of October. That means a total one-sided law, not looking at the business, not looking at the consumer. This has been a recent approach. So this, I am fearing how things will go the way forward. Can I have the next slide, please? Way forward, what is required here is setting up of the GST tribunal. Till now, we don't have a GST tribunal. It's been 6 years of formation. All the disputes have been accumulated. That has not been decided. So hopefully something has been happening there. What's on the card is also rationalization into 3 rates. Don't think that it is a good news. It is a bad news because they are not trying to eliminate 18%. They are trying to eliminate 12%. That means what is there in 12, they will put it into 18. So that is the challenge. It is not, if 18 they are eliminating and putting it to 12, it was a good news. So that is the major reason the rate rationalization is not taken up before the election. After the election, they want to take it up because it's going to have a negative impact, not a positive impact. But this is something which has been there. Requirement of centralized audit in multi-locational firms is there. The firms are having multi-locational presence, 20 states, 30 states they have presented. Now they have been subjected to 30 different audits at 30 different time frame by 30 different teams. So there is a need for having one centralized audit for all the 30 locations by one team at one time frame. So this is something which has been looked at, which is required. From a policy level, inclusion of fuel is high time that the fuel has to be included in GST. That is not only going to reduce the rate of the taxation on the fuel, but also helps in taking that as an input tax credit, because fuel is a major consumption in various industries. It could be for transportation, it could be for DG sets. The fuel is a major consumption which has been there. If the GST has been paid instead of the central excise, their cost is going to reduce. Similarly is the electricity, which is much awaited. Electricity for commercial consumption should come under GST. So there is going to be a lot of benefits is going to happen because of that. And also getting the stamp duty merged into GST. So these are all the things which has been required as a way forward for us to go from a GST point of view. Next slide, please. So this finishes my question, my talk. So I've slightly overshooted my time, but I thought I'll cover whatever has been required. So thank you all for the patience listening. I am here to take your questions now.
Yes, I would now like to request the audience to take a 30 seconds to answer a poll for us. The purpose of this poll is to help us understand you a little better so that we can curate the topics that we bring to you. You can also let us know in the chat box how you found out about WishwaTalks. If you are a WishwaTalks subscriber, heard about it through friends or family, or found out about the event on social media. While you take this survey, I would like to express my gratitude to each and every one of you who have joined us today with your presence, and we look forward to a very good interactive contribution from your side. I extend my gratitude to our respected speaker, Mr. Sudhir VS, for taking time to grace this event. You've made it very simplified for the common man to understand what GST is, why it is levied, how it is levied, and you made us present to the importance of it and the impact of it. Thank you so much. Yes. While the survey is happening, I would like to share a little bit about Wishwa. And how you can contribute. Wishwa is an online platform for everyday change makers and social champions. It's a crowdfunding and a crowdsourcing platform that is aimed at helping anyone find the support they need in their efforts to fulfill your dreams for themselves and for others, and in the process, make this world a better place. In Wishwa, We have also been doing WishwaTalks for Youth and WishwaTalks for Junior. Recently, our team has worked in a few schools. They have done WishwaTalks for Youth. We have done a Mudra's talk. Preeti, will you be able to put a slide or a video on it? We've also been doing some workshops. We've done one workshop in a school. We've done this Vinayak Chauthi. It was all about making Vinayakas, clay Vinayakas. We've also been doing a lot of work with the slums. We've been doing Preeti, do you want to show your work, or shall I move on with the other question answers? This is the WishwaTalks that we've done in schools, and we really look forward for other schools to subscribe to WishwaTalks at junior and the youth, because we would like I remember my son was studying in Rishi Valley, and every month eminent people would come and talk, and this had an impact on the children, their imagination. They were inspired, they were motivated, their dreams became bigger. So we request that you share with your friends and family the possibility of them subscribing so that WishwaTalks can do that in their schools. Yes, next please. Can you talk about the vocational training that's happening? Yes, we've been doing, do you have any videos or testimonials on the vocational training? We've been doing vocational training in the slums of Hyderabad, in the area of computer sciences. There are many children who have passed their 10th, 12th and degree, but they will not get jobs because they don't know how a computer looks, how to use the computers, how to do a basic email, how to fill in an Excel sheet or a Google sheet, or the basics are missing. So like recently, when one of our volunteers was working in Tanguturu village in the outskirts of Hyderabad, a lady came and she said that I have a child and a mother living with me. I've lost my husband. And Preeti, I would like you to show the previous testimonials of the videos you'll have done of the vocational training. So this lady came up and she said that I need a job. I need a job and I just need 10,000 rupees a month. But I'm not qualified to get a job. And we've taken her on. But my request to each of you is, we're doing around 25 people per batch. We're doing around 4 batches in different slums. And we would request you to donate your computers, your old computers. And if you don't have any, and if you would like to buy a new computer of 25,000, we can take this on and we can help these students get jobs. We are also doing the Vishwa materials, where we have 150 slums in and around Hyderabad. The last year has been a huge success. This Diwali, again, we are collecting material. Last Diwali, when we collected, we were able to donate to 3 slums. And some of the people have come there and they said that material that they required for almost the whole year, the clothes, have been completely taken care of and they don't need to buy anymore. They were very happy. Yeah. So please do share with your friends and family about it. Yeah, now coming back to our question and answer session, just one last thing I would like to cover. The upcoming sessions that we are having. What is dementia? Never too late, never too early. It's on 14th October, Saturday, 11 a.m. The speaker is Sadia Hurzuk, the program manager and psychologist. It's from the organization Alzheimer's and Related Disorders Society of India, the Hyderabad Deccan chapter. The topic is dementia awareness, never too early and never too late. 14th October 2023, 11 a.m. Then we have the next talk on art and culture, Radhika Talati. She's the founder of Yogini. The organization is Ra Foundation and Anhata Organics. The topic is Introduction to the Devi, the sacred feminine. This is because of our Devi Puja starting this October. We are having this topic. The time is October 21st, 11 a.m. Yes. Now coming back to our questions, there is a question here, sir. When the government is charging between 30 to 45% on income tax, again an 18 to 20% on GST, why wouldn't the Indian population want to evade tax?
Yeah, very, very rightly asked a question. It's been proved fact that the higher the rate, higher the tax. Simple case of gold smuggling. When the rates of duties of gold were reduced, we were hardly seeing any smuggling case. So when it was increased, then the smuggling got tremendously increased. So it is very important. This has also been told in Kautilya's Arthashastra, that they tell that the tax has to be collected as a honeybee collects the honey from the flower without disturbing it, without making any harm. So then people don't resist at all. So the taxes has to be ideally planned at a rate which it will not actually pinch them, and it has to be collected. So to do that, there is a political challenge. There is a Kelkar committee report which was given, where they told you tax the GST airpin to aeroplane at 8%. That's all. No exemption, nothing. And all business purchases, you will give a set off. So end consumer, whatever he buys, he knows 8%. Ambiguities will be removed, everything. Now, if this is there, even an agriculture produce has to be at 8%. Even your vegetables has to be at 8%. Now it is a political move that if any government will take it, that they will tax the vegetables also, rice also, basic facilities also at a rate of tax of 8%. And also the person who is buying an aeroplane or a flight travel is also at 8%. So this is something politically people are not trying to bell the cat. So this is forcing to give an exemption few sector and load whatever has been losing to another sector, and thereby increasing the rate of tax is what has been happening. In fact, it's high time that the rates has to be reduced to 12%, because the collections are good. It is going to further go if it is going to be reduced at 12%. But it's, yeah, unfortunate we pay more than 50-55% of our earnings in taxes.
How much percentage of evasion is happening because of this?
Not very sure, very difficult to estimate. I think evasion could be, the parallel economies could be somewhere near to 30 to 40% of what the actual economy is.
30%?
Yeah. That means if what has been accounted as 1.5 crores of collection, so there is another 30% at least, in my view, if not 30, maybe 50. Another 75,000 crores has been evaded every month.
Oh, every month.
Every month.
Okay. What is the impact on the migration of high net worth individuals because of this from the country?
If you look at the global taxation also, that has been claimed by government many times, that as far as a corporate tax is concerned or the individual income tax is concerned, we are at par with many of the countries, at par. So maybe there are few countries which is less than that, but we are at par. But when it comes to indirect tax, maybe we are a bit costly in a few commodities and a few commodity, otherwise in some other commodities. So I have not generally seen the people leaving the country because of the taxation, in my experience. But yes, I have seen people relocating their business place outside India because of some illogical laws which has been there in India, which will, if the same thing, if you sit in Singapore and do, you will not pay tax. But if you're sitting in India, you have to pay tax. That sort of an illogical way the drafting is there. So I've seen few people shifting their operations abroad, but still staying here and doing it. But not really that a lot of people are running away from the country because of taxes. I don't see that yet.
Can Section 73(1) of the GST Act 2017 be invoked to disallow Tran 1 distributed at the receiving end on the ground that the receiving location did not produce a certificate from the competent authority that SENVAT accumulated was eligible credit?
See, this is a quietly a technical subject. 73(1) notices has been invoked. 73 says that whenever there is a short payment of tax or a non-payment of tax, the GST, the notice can be given. Now, what is the transaction which he is talking about? He is talking about that I had some credits in my central excise. Now I brought it into my GST and I have offsetted it. So there is an error while doing it. So this person is asking that this is something to do with central excise. Now, how can a notice being given under GST? Can it be given as his question? So technically, this can be challenged also from a judicial point of view. But if you go by the books, they are free to give the notice under Section 73 for the transfer.
What impacts of GST is on the poor and the lower social economic groups of the population? From Mr. Schmel.
Can you just repeat it?
What impacts of the GST? What is the impact of GST on the poor and the lower socio-economic groups of the population?
Okay, so the impact, as I told, that I'm looking at more from a consumer point of view. I'm a consumer and I'm a poor. What is the impact of GST on me? So if you look at the basic essentials which has been there, which is required, like your fruits, vegetables, your rices, so which is required for you to survive, 80% has been kept outside the tax, right? Of course, yes, the LPG is there. So you, for cooking, you need to LPG. LPG is suffered GST. So there are few things like oil is suffered GST. So at least 80% of the basic is kept outside. I don't have the major incidents. Even if I have a major incidence on few pulses and all those things, the rate is kept at 5%. That is a minimal rate. So it is not a huge impact which has been there. But as and when I am comfortable in spending, right? So once I have the surplus with me, and with that surplus, I am instead of buying a aloo, I am buying a potato chips. I'm affordable. So potato chips comes with 18%, right? So like that, the things will go up. I am affordable to buy a Coke also along with the potato chips. Coke is at 28%. So as and when your capacity to pay is increased, you have been put at a higher rate of tax.
Okay.
So very basics, as been told, like roti, kapda, makan is at 5%. Textile is at 5%. You buy an apartment, it's at 5%. Of course, if you are buying an apartment which is a lower section, it is only at 1%. right? And all other restaurants and all those things is at 5%.
Excellent.
Something which they are looking at making it as lesser.
While rationalization of rates across the states in the country is given as the key benefit of GST. This question is from Ms. Shyama Sundari. The small scale and the decentralized sectors have not benefited much from GST, except that they are now burdened by additional paperwork support from professional auditors.
Yeah, it depends upon the industry to industry. If this particular industry where they've been talking about, they're not able to capture the business across the other states, which earlier they were missing because of differential rates. So they may not be able to see the benefit. But there are certain sectors where the rate of VAT was different from one state to another state. And they had a customer in the other state, but they were not able to buy because if they buy from me, I become 12% costlier. So those people actually got the benefit. But maybe Sham Sundari is coming from an industry where the rate was neutral. It was 12% earlier itself. So maybe the benefit is not been able to look at. And professional auditors, there was a requirement, chartered accountant or a cost accountant to certify the annual returns. This also has been removed from past 3 years. It has not been required. So actually you are not dependent on a professional auditor. All that is required is a self-learning. There are n number of material available. And also it is a time that whenever the professional you are taking, you take a service of getting yourself and your team trained rather than outsourcing that work. This is very much important for the small and medium scale industries because they cannot able to afford the professional fees. So in our office, we have a concept that we don't want to become a cost to any of our client. We should not be pursued as a cost at all. So what we do is that somebody says that, why don't you file my returns? I will say, boss, I will not file your returns. I'll handle you for 6 months. I will train your accountant. I will put a proper system in place. I will configuration your accounting package, which makes your compliance easy. I will handle for 6 months, put a system in place, have a training module in place. Anybody who is coming or going will go through this SOP. He should be able to file his returns by himself. So this is something which you need to ask your professional auditors or a professional consultant, saying that don't take an outsource. You enable me that I'll make my own self-compliance. That is going to substantially reduce the cost and also take it from me. When you are doing it yourself, the errors are less. When you are giving it to an outsourcing, that auditor or a tax consultant, whoever is doing, he has to file maybe 100 returns on the deadline dates. So how much you will be able to see? But for you, it is only your return on the deadline day. You are having time to see and verify. So consider this in mind when you are giving an outsourcing, especially the small and medium sized business.
Okay. Now you've said a lot of taxes have been removed, like professional tax and all. What are the other taxes that have been removed?
As far as the central taxes is concerned, the central excess has been removed, central sales tax has been removed, octroi has been removed, entry tax has been removed, professional tax, luxury tax, entertainment tax. So these are all the taxes which has been not removed, it has been subsumed under GST. All these things is now GST.
Now, you said that the tribunal has not yet been started.
Yeah.
What is the reason that they're delaying it?
The delay in the formation of tribunal is that the way they have constituted the tribunal, in taxation matters, there will be 2 members or the judge. One will be called as a technical member who comes from the department, who has served as a commissioner or retired, or who's having that particular age, or even in service have 2 or 3 years left, he can be elevated as a judge. Second comes as a judicial member who has served as a judge in the session court or who is a practicing advocate for a particular period. He becomes a judge. Both of them sit together, one from judicial background, one from technical background, and they will decide the case. This is how was happening in VAT tribunals. This is how was happening in Central Excise and Service Tax Tribunal. Whereas in this enactment which they did, as I told that their enactment they have done is all government benefit, revenue benefit enactments, where they have told one technical member from state representing the state, one technical member representing the center, and one judicial member. There will be a three judge which has been sitting. Now, if you look at, weight is more on technical people. That is a person who has served 25 years for the revenue, reading the law to benefit the revenue, that how should I collect the tax, he is sitting and deciding, and he is the final authority. Judicial has nothing to do. Even judicial member says, no, this is not taxable, he becomes minority. Technical are majority. So this is a total failure of the justice system. So this was challenged in the Madras High Court, and the courts told, yes, this cannot be done. So they have now reformulated it. Now there will be 4 members sitting. 1 state, 1 center, 2 technical member, 2 judicial member. So the argument has to happen before 4 members. Still there are some challenges. Advocates cannot become a judicial member. So whether we'll get the members at all. So these are all the challenges which has been there. I think that now they're progressing. We should be able to come out soon.
So now, for example, there are certain places where GST is asked to be paid before the person receives money. For example, if a company gives a land for development, on the day the land has been given for development, tax has to be paid.
It used to be there. They have corrected now after 1st of April 2019.
2019.
Yeah. Prior to 1st of April 2019, or even prior to 2018, they made a confusion. Prior to that, it was, what you say is right. I have not made any business, any economy, nothing has happened. The moment the land was given on development, the tax was payable. All those things has been ironed out now. April 2019 onwards, there is a clarity.
But this is for individuals, not for companies.
Both.
For both.
Okay. From a GST point of view.
From a GST point of view. Is it available written anywhere?
Yeah. You can send me a mail which was there. I'll send you the notification.
Okay.
If I'm not wrong, it is 3 of 2019 notification.
So on the one side, the GST officials have huge authority.
Yes.
But the tribunal has not come. In your expectation, is it going to come in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years?
In the GST Council, with 52nd GST Council, which has been shared today, this is appointing the members is one of the agenda. So if the members have been appointed, identifying the place, appointing other president will be appointed. So other members appointing and all, if this is happening, it may happen somewhere between 8 months to 1 year.
What happens if the builder does not pay the GST and he escapes?
There's no escape.
There's no escape.
There's no escape because 17-18 is the first financial year. And the time limit for issuing a notice is still not expired. We are sitting in 2023.
All right.
Talking about 2017, 2023 still not expired. So they have another 2 more years to come and issue a notice for that. So hardly there is an escape, but some people, if they're escaping, they are lucky. That's all.
Okay. What happens when there is corruption in the ruling party cronies with respect to GST?
See, here what I say is that the corruption is not from the ruling party or the other thing. The corruption is more in the system. So a lot of people ask me now, GST is going to come, or Modi government is going to come, the corruptions will go or not. So whether it is UPA government or BJP government, the clerk remains the clerk. The officer remains the officer. So for him, it doesn't make any difference. He wants his money. He wants his pie. So that is what has been looked at. So I don't see any corruptions being reduced here. Although in our firm, we have a zero compromise tolerance policy. We have 100% ethical firm, not paid even a single rupee bribe from 88 till now, and we are continuing to do that. So we face all these challenges of going around and getting it. But only one thing which I wanted to tell this forum is that there is an option of doing the other way also. When I myself relocated from Bangalore in 2007 to Hyderabad, when I came here, people challenged us. So did you take one registration under service tax without paying bribe in Hyderabad? Let us see whether you will be able to achieve. People told me. So I told not one, I'm going to take 10, but we would have taken more than 50 without paying even a single rupee bribe.
Amazing.
What was the difference? The people who paid bribe got it in half a day. I took 7 days. Because at the end of 7 days, it is mandatory for them to give registration. That was the law in GST. Sorry, service tax. That 7 days you have to give. First registration, I have made 18 visits to department. 18 departments to visits. I have met 3 different levels of officer and got the registration without paying a bribe. It is possible. We should be open for that idea that it has been possible, and we need to take that route. Next registration and all, I did not do 18 visits. It was only 2 visits. By the time every system, they understood that this fellow is not going to pay bribe. This fellow is not going to leave unless until he gives me a registration. So it's my waste of time and I will get it. In the system, there is a possibility for you to work ethically. Am I choosing the right choice? Is the question.
What is this input and output? I never understood. If a company is paying GST, and if they're getting the input from another person, are they getting their money back?
It is like this. I purchase and sell. I'm a trader. Okay. So for example, I purchase a pen, I sell a pen. Right. So when I'm purchasing the pen, I am paying 100 rupees for a pen and also paying 18 rupees, which is GST, which he will remit to the government. I'm considering I'm buying it from manufacturer. He'll directly pay the entire 18 rupees to the government. What the law says is, this 18 rupees is paid by whose pocket? My pocket, not by my vendor. He did not bear the cost. I bore the cost, right? I paid from my pocket 18 rupees. The government says this 18 rupees, you treat it as your advance tax. Tell that you have already paid 18 rupees to the government. Keep it in your credit. We call this as an input tax credit. Now the 100 rupees pen, I am selling to my customer at say 150 rupees. I'm making a 50 rupees of margin. So now I have to collect how much? 27 rupees of tax I collected from my customer at same 18% on 150, 27 rupees I collected. The government says, see Sudhir, you already paid 18 rupees to your vendor. From your 27, you reduce this 18 rupees and the balance 9 rupees you pay to the government. So what I collect at 27 is called as an output tax. That is a tax charge on my sale. I will reduce it by input tax, which I already paid to my government, and the balance has been paid to the government. Now the end consumer, my customer is the end consumer. He has paid the entire 27 rupees, which has gone to the government. That is the concept of input and output.
And then the customer, when so the final person who's consuming is actually paying the GST.
Yes.
Not the manufacturer, not the
They're
trader.
all pass through. They're only
all passing through.
Pass through. Except for a few items where they have been treated, they have not given the input tax credit, and they will be treated as a consumer themselves. Say, for example, construction service. A manufacturer does a construction of a factory shed. They say, I'll not give the credit, don't pass it on to your customer. You take the cost of it, you become a consumer. Car is another example. So there is few items which is there. Otherwise, major, you and me as a consumer, what we are spending every day, we are ending up paying the taxes.
Right.
Another challenge is how much it's actually going to the coffers. We don't know. In between, there are few traders who will eat away our money.
How do they do that?
Somebody will not pay the tax, correct, not pay. All possibilities are there.
So don't they get caught in this web?
They will get. They're doing. Technology has been improved. Government is having tools which they can dig up to 7 levels That they can trace, okay, if this is the product which you have bought, they can go to my 7 backstages and check from where it has gone, and they can check whether the tax has been paid everywhere. So technology has been used.
Like previously, I remember my in-laws family were very straightforward. And when they entered into a business, they were paying taxes, but there were certain communities who were not paying taxes. So they had to shut down the factory. Now, is that still happening?
Still happening, but the percentage has reduced.
Okay. Okay. Now, why is the state and the center having issues with respect to the GST in the sharings?
So it is more of settling the accounts and center giving the cash flows. Center has collected the money, but used it for something else. They have a challenge with the cash flows. So there is a delay in remittance and things like that. Second is that there was a technical problem also. The states, when I was filing my returns, like I told, that construction and all, actually I have to show in my return saying that this I am reversing it permanently. That is, I'm not taking. That is when the government of Telangana will get a right over that credit if it is an interstate purchase. So this sort of a compliance not being done by the assessees, that also created some dent for the state revenue. So all those things is now getting cleared and sorted.
Is there a difference of opinion between the state and the center on the amounts that have been divided among them?
I think few states have the disputes and they keep on debating on that.
Why is it that a substantial amount of our taxes are going to freebies?
I'm not very sure. That is a political call. I don't know. I also don't like that, but yeah, that is what is happening.
All right. With this, we conclude our question and answer session. Thank you so much. It's a very pertinent topic, GST, and you've made it so easily understandable to people like us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you to all the
Thank
audience.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, sir. That was a very wonderful session. I'd like to request the participants to lastly, please take a moment to subscribe to WishwaTalks to get alerts on every new and exciting talk, exclusive events, and access to the Wishwa community. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn for future updates. Also, if you've missed any part of this session, the recording link is there in the chat box. You can click that and check the starting of the talk. The PPT will be shared with you on the mail right after the session is concluded. Thank you so much. See you next week.